Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and welcome to the Snobble West Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Snobble West Show. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, we first off want to thank all of you for your continued support. Special shout out to our snobbists, which are our Patreon supporters. If you want to get in on that action, you can head on over to patreon.com/SnobbleWestCast to get all of the details. You can watch the show live, get exclusive content, and all those other types of good things. Oh, and access to our special Discord community. So definitely go over to Patreon and check that out. We're going to kick it off with the lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. And I wanted to kick it off this week. If you listen to last week's episode, you'll notice that I talked about some of the touch issues that I was having on my iPhone 16 Pro, and some other people were experiencing some issues as well. Well, last Thursday, Apple released its first round of updates for basically the whole latest iOS 18, iPad OS, Sequoia, Watch OS. Everybody pretty much got their first round of updates. I did want to take a specific moment to highlight the iOS updates first, because that's what most people have, and then we could talk a little bit about some of the other updates as well. So, in this release, per the the release notes, touchscreen may be temporarily unresponsive in certain circumstances on iPhone 16 and 16 Pro models. Just said, hey, that's me. That's been resolved in this build. It's 18.0.1. Also, I hadn't seen this, but camera may freeze when recording macro mode videos on the ultra-wide camera in 4K with HDR turned off on iPhone 16 Pro models. That seems like it's very drilled down and very niche. I haven't come across that because I haven't done that.
Okay.
Messages may unexpectedly quit when replying to a message with a shared Apple Watch face. Performance may be impacted due to an issue with memory allocation on some iPhones, and I think there's some other security updates in there as well. Did you experience any of these issues?
I have not. I must have been one of the lucky ones. Some of these, like you said, are in the weeds as far as some of the issues, but somebody's experiencing them, and the fact that it is a bug in and of itself is probably not what Apple wants. So even if it is niche and there's only a few people experiencing this issue, Apple is definitely not going to say, they'll be all right. So they want to make sure they issue all these updates. But some of these are, like you said, in the weeds, and the majority of people, with the exception of that touchscreen issue that you're experiencing, most of these are kind of like small fine-tuning things, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I will say I'm, of course, obviously on 18.0.1. I don't know if you have experienced this, but I've been putting together, doing some album photos, trying to organize my photos on my iPhone. And lately, particularly today, because I've been doing it today and yesterday the most, my photos, Apple just in the middle of me doing something, it'll just quit.
Multiple times or just like once?
Multiple times.
Okay, yeah, because every once in a while an app will crash, and I just chalk it up to, it was a fart on the on the side of the app, but I haven't I haven't seen it enough personally to be like, all right, this is a problem.
Yeah, I noticed it today because I've been doing, of course, like I mentioned, well, if you're not a Snobbist member, you wouldn't know, but I talked about a specific event that's coming up. So I've been doing like some photos and putting some photos together and videos together. And I've been in the Photos app a lot, searching for specific images and trying to, create some albums to be able to put together something to post on social media. And yeah, it's crashed on me like 3 times today.
Oh, wow.
And like I think 1 or 2 times yesterday. And at first, I thought I chalked it up to maybe it was just like a little glitch. But the fact that I've seen it like 2 days in a row and multiple times, I was like, I wonder if something else is a miss. So time will tell. There may be a 18.0.2 coming out pretty quickly if some other things pop up, or if this is happening with multiple people, or if I just kind of got a little rejected phone. I got one of those potentially. I did want to hop over to talk about a little bit quickly the updates for iPad OS. Vision OS got an update, Sequoia got an update, and Watch 11. From what I understand, there were quite a few issues going on with the Watch 11. Per their release notes for the Watch OS 11.0.1, it was the watch was unexpectedly restarting from some people. Music app would just quit when loading media. Battery was being drained. Touchscreen was temporarily unresponsive for Series 9, 10, and Ultra 2 users, and messages were unexpectedly quitting when you were replying. So it's one of those things where it sounds like a bunch of things have just like unexpectedly stopped working. And I was like, I'm wondering now if they are fixing this kind of brought forward some of the stuff that I've been seeing with photos. With Sequoia, it's the same with the messages quitting unexpectedly. That seems to be going across all of the devices. It looks like Sequoia, they did some compatibility with third-party folks. Did some improvements with that. Vision, YouTube video player and Safari was freezing. Some web extension data issues. And again, messages may unexpectedly quit when replying to a message with a shared Apple Watch face. That seems to be pretty much across the board with that messaging thing. I haven't seen any issues with messaging, which is interesting.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I haven't experienced any of these issues, but maybe all of these issues Apple knew about and they knew they were going to be busy fixing and patching, which is why they possibly pushed back the launch of Apple Intelligence or 18.2, I think is when Apple Intelligence is going to come out, because they did not want it released with all these issues in front of it. So it's like, all right, let's push it back a little bit. Let's work double time, overtime, triple time to go ahead and get this stuff knocked out and then launch Apple Intelligence later.
Yeah, because I'm thinking because these issues were so in the weeds, maybe it was a calculated risk to go ahead and push the iOS 18, the latest OS versions for across the board out, knowing that, we're fixing those already in the background. We're aware of them. So they probably had a team already working on fixing those defects, because a lot of times you ship software with known defects and they're kind of like on your next slate of things to get fixed and roll out in the next thing. So maybe that's kind of their a calculated risk that they were willing to take. And maybe that's why they were able to get a fix turned around so quickly. I don't know, just speculation.
All right.
Next step, one of the features that we both said that we enjoyed a lot is the iPhone mirroring. Well, it seems there's a security firm, what is it, Sevco, have uncovered some potentially pretty significant privacy risks with it. So basically, reading from this article, surprisingly on Mac Rumors, there's a bunch of in the weeds type of information. But what it basically boils down to, when you engage iPhone mirroring on your Mac, the mirroring allows for the macOS file system and metadata to be, that's what it interacts with. That's what's the main, I guess, driving feature behind allowing it to work. Well, this metadata and file system information is being treated as an installed application, but it's not in the metadata that it sends is not the actual executable file, but the way it is in the file system, it treats it as an installed application. So it's one of those things where, with it doing this, it's basically, if you're using your personal iPhone on your corporate machine to do the iPhone mirroring, your iPhone apps may appear in the corporate inventory. So meaning when they scan, the systems, looking, this is like your wheelhouse. So that's why I'm teeing it up and then letting you take over. But it's one of those things where it gives them access to this type of information, um, technically without your consent, but to me, you are giving consent if you're pairing this and using this. So whatever is access to, I mean, that's kind of on your personal end. And based on this article, Sevco saying that they have alerted Apple to this issue, and apparently the company is reportedly working on a fix. So, as a person whose corporate day-to-day job is managing devices across a corporation, should people be pairing? I know what you're gonna say, but should people be pairing their personal devices to their corporate machines, or treating their corporate machines like they're theirs?
No, is the answer. And for the reasons that you outlined, if you are doing iPhone mirroring and your phone is your personal phone and you're using the mirroring feature on a Mac that is not yours and is corporate owned, if that corporation is using any sort of mobile device management, enterprise mobility management, whatever you want to call it, if it is true that those apps, those services are showing up on that Mac as a Mac or corporate owned or corporate managed or just a app or data that they can see it, because especially again it's different levels, right? Some companies are hands off completely. Some companies are, we just want to make sure the company data is not leaked. And then there are companies out there that's like, we're watching your every move. We're logging keystrokes. We are randomly checking in and monitoring your computer use to make sure you're not on Amazon or on YouTube or on
All
Facebook
day.
all day long. They are tracking all that stuff. So if you're at one of those companies at the top, you better believe when a app shows up on their Mac that you're not supposed to be using, or has been flagged, or it ain't productive, or it's just not what you're supposed to be doing during the time that they checking in, they can see that. Now, again, is that a security risk? I don't know. Simply because when you set up your phone via mirroring on a company owned device, you are inadvertently, indirectly giving them consent to do whatever they want to do, right? Now, is that a bug? Quite possibly. Will Apple find a fix to where it is not as obvious, or not as what's the word? It's not as obvious that you are using non-corporate services or apps on a corporate device, and they just figure out how to make a brick wall? Sure, they'll do it. But again, why on earth are you using your personal anything
Yeah.
on a corporate anything? I don't check my email on my computer, my work computer. I don't do anything. If need be, I will bring my personal computer and won't even connect it to the company
The corporate Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. I'm
Yep.
hotspotting off my personal phone, and not because I'm trying to, lack off at work and trying to do something I ain't supposed to be
Doing it
doing.
shady. Yeah. No.
Because it's my personal device. When you walk into these buildings or you connect to these services, they can potentially see what you're doing. And I ain't got time for all that. I'm at work. I'm at work. When I on my lunch break and I decided to pop over my laptop, or I'm just speaking in general, not for me personally, but for people out there who, go into an office or whatever and feel like, oh, on my lunch break, I'm a whatever, that's fine, but don't do it on your computer. And this mirroring is another example of things you should not do on your work computer, which is essentially connect to your personal device, because if the
Yeah.
company's settings and security and paranoia is that high, they can now see everything you're doing on your phone. And do you want that? If you don't do it. If you do and you don't care, go on, do your
Have at
business.
it. Enjoy. Because I know it was at work, you could use your personal phone and they'd give you a discount.
Right.
But you had to put, special software. I think it was
Yep.
in tune for us. And my thing was reading the fine print. They were like, oh, we can wipe your device anytime we want to. And I'm like, but this is my personal device. You're giving me a discount, but it's still mine. And so I was like, if you want to have access to me off hours, you're going to have to give me one of your phones, because me myself personally, I'm not putting that on my phone. About the only thing I would do before I got a corporate phone was I would log into the web version of Outlook, but I even did that sparingly. So yeah, to me, the bottom line is, don't use your personal devices on your corporate machines
Don't log
because they
into
aren't
your
yours.
don't log into your personal accounts. Don't do anything personal on a company workbook. Now, a
'Cause it's
company
not yours.
computer, because it's not yours, and you don't know to what level they are monitoring
watching.
that stuff. And there's some companies who are watching everything, and there are some companies who are not. And why go through the trouble to try to figure that out? Just don't
Yeah.
do it. Just don't
Just don't do it.
bother. Don't bother. You ain't got to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it if you don't do it.
Exactly. All right. We're gonna talk a little bit of rumor. Rumor has it, as you were alluding to earlier, about Apple Intelligence, and I think I alluded to it last week, that my speculation was that we would see the 18.1 likely at the end of this month. Well, Bloomberg is in on that rumor as well, that starting on October 28th, that we can expect to see Apple Intelligence on iOS, macOS, and iPadOS. And again, I will preface this by saying this is a rumor. We do not know. This is pure speculation. But the fact that it is making it into the news, and is making it into the news via Bloomberg, that kind of gives me a little bit more, maybe this could be true. But thoughts. This is coming from your boy, Mark Gurman, who is, let's be honest, to me is hit or miss, or if he keeps throwing it out there long enough, eventually what he says comes true. But do you have any thoughts, or could this, potentially be ready by October, the end of October?
I think it is ready, and I think it'll come up before October 28th again, because Apple's just trying to work out the kinks of iOS 18. Once they get those kinks worked out, which is like 18.01.1 and all these other updates since iOS 18, then they're going to fire up Apple Intelligence, which again, October 28th is still in October. So technically what Apple said would be right, but I believe it's going to come a little bit earlier. And as far as Mark Gurman and the Bloomberg, I tend to believe that if you say it enough times, eventually you'll be right.
You'll be right.
That's why I don't really deal with rumors, and specifically with people who are, specifically the people who are
Insiders.
right, or parties close to the matter, or whatever you want to call them. It's just, I wish I could just throw stuff out there, or just get a little bit of information and run with it, and people be like, "Oh, Terrance said," and
So it must be true.
But and then opposite of that, if it don't come true, nobody calls hold my feet to the fire. They're kind of like, just, oh man, and they go on to something else.
Go on to the next thing,
and then wait
until
I
you say it the next time.
Right. It's like they need a scorecard. They need some sort of fact checking. They need some sort of historical, analyzing to figure out some of these big names and these rumors that they're throwing out. What is their percentage, their scoring percentage, right? In basketball and football, all athletics, you get stats. These rumor mill people, these analysts, they need a scoring a percentage. And then
Yeah.
when Bloomberg via Mark Gurman reports something, before they even say it, put their
They
stats at the
pop their
top.
stats.
Put their stats at the top.
He
Then
is 35% of the type,
and
right?
then
Or
right. If you see that, then I'm like, nah, I'm straight. But if he's 90, 70, whatever's a high number for rumor mills, whatever that number is,
yeah.
if it's 60%, 40%, whatever it is, if it's that high number, then you go, oh, okay. But him just to be saying it and people say, oh, well, he's with Bloomberg and he's an analyst, so there's got to be some credibility there. Nah, I need the stats.
Especially since I just said this very thing last week that I think is probably going to come out at the end of the month. I'm sure many people
I can say
have
that.
that have that
Why ain't
thought
Bloomberg?
process. Just
Why?
don't run me a check real quick because I
Right.
said it first. So I think it's one of those things where it kind of follows logic based on the expectation from Apple. Again, it was probably, like you said, ready when they released iOS 18. But again, bugs and issues pop up just from use cases that their testing team didn't even think of, or the developers didn't think of. And a lot of times is you have to kind of get these things out in the free world to kind of get an idea as to some issues that you didn't know. So we finally, because it took a while to get this 18.0.1 update. So maybe they were trying to get a lot of stuff done in one file swoop. So yeah, we'll see if Terrance is right and it comes before the 28th, or if Gurman is right with it coming by the end of this month. That is going to wrap it up for the lowdown. Let's head on over into second string where we talk all other tech. I saw this story and I was like, yep, it makes sense. What's old is new again. Pre-subscription timing. Everything now we get is on a subscription. Prior to that, everything was on a disc that you bought. You got a license key that when you went to install it, you had to type in that license key to activate your device, and it was yours forever. Well, it looks like Microsoft is heading back to doing that in a sense. We know Office 365 is pretty much the only way you can use the Office products. But with the launch of Office 2024, which was just last week on October 1st, they have a new, quote, locked in time update version of Office 2024. So what that includes is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote for $149, and Office Home and Business, which is basically $250. And with the Home and Office, you get the addition of Outlook as well. And again, this license, this locked in time version, it's for a single PC or a single Mac. Now, there are a couple of caveats with this version of Office 2024. With this one-time purchase version, it means you won't get ongoing feature updates. You won't get all of the real-time collaboration capabilities. And you won't have any features related to Copilot. So that's just kind of off rip what you won't get with this version. But it will be supported to include bug fixes and security updates up until October 9th of 2029, and a 5-year window in keeping with the other licensed versions of the software suite. And again, this will be compatible for Windows 10 and 11. It will be compatible with Mac, Ventura, Sonoma, and Sequoia. So the question is, why do you think Microsoft is saying, let's kind of dip our toe back into that old thing and see what's going on with, because people are really sick of everything being on I know I am, on a subscription plan.
Yeah, most people are sick of it. I'm not sure why Microsoft is doing it now. My assumption is maybe the numbers for Microsoft 365 subscriptions ain't hitting like they thought it were hit, or people are just using Microsoft 365 just, because there's different tiers. You can get just email, then you can get, a web version of Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, which maybe what most people are doing is like, I don't care about Outlook. I don't care about OneNote. I don't care about Copilot. I don't care about none of that crap. All
Just
I
give me
want
Word and Excel and PowerPoint, and I'm good.
Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I don't care if it's a software application that I can open up. I don't care if it's a browser that I need to go to. As long as I get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I'm fine. So maybe that web version of the Word, Excel, PowerPoint was like maybe, small enough to where over the time of me paying for that subscription, I would have spent more money if I would have just bought Word, Excel, PowerPoint for $250 versus me it taking 3, 4, 5 years for me to spend $259. They're like, all right, well, let's just see if we can get it up front versus this $5, $2 a month, whatever the subscription. I don't know what the subscription cost is, but maybe they're like, all right, we get this money up front because we know a lot of people love Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They don't do nothing else. They don't care about one. They don't care. They don't care about none of that stuff. So
Yeah.
let's just,
Yeah.
which is me, right? I barely use Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. Maybe Word the most, but like with the Mac stuff, numbers, pages,
Keynote.
and Keynote, that's enough for me. And then, somebody sends me a Word document, I can easily import it into Pages and export it back out as a Word document. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So, for most people, it's just enough. And Microsoft is like, well, let's see if we can get a little bit more money up front for those people who we know don't care about none of this other
None of this
stuff.
extra stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I hope that other companies are taking a page or will take a page out of this because I'm so sick of everything being a subscription. I even saw someone post that printing is a subscription. You buy the printer, you buy the ink, but you have to have a subscription service to actually print. They'll say, oh, we'll give you 50 prints for X
That's
amount of
crazy.
dollars. And
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
that's insane. I have the hardware.
And I still got to mess with the
And I
hardware.
still-
I
yeah,
still
and
need
I
to go get ink, and I still need to figure out and you want me to pay for? Nah, I'm straight.
That's
I'll stop using a
insane.
printer before I get that far.
Yeah. I will go to FedEx Kinko's before I do that. Because honestly, who's really printing a bunch of stuff anyway? And if you are, I hope you have an older printer where you don't have to do a subscription service to actually print. But again, I say all that to say, I hope physical media in some form or fashion comes back in style and subscription. Give people the option. Do you want a subscription or do you want to just buy it one time and that just be it? You don't get any updates or whatever. But honestly, especially when it comes to Office, the stuff that you're adding are the features. I don't need all that. I just need to be able to type and save and export. All this other razzle dazzle, I don't really need it. So I'm hoping that some folks are taking a hint from this, or at least looking at the numbers to say, you know what, maybe we can get that old thing back. Hopefully so. All right, let's head on over into For the Culture. So I was on DTNS on Monday, and over the course of the show, as we were wrapping it up, Tom mentioned that they did on their Patreon the top 5 phones. And I saw like people were sending in, what their favorites were and the ones that they use the most. So I was like, instead of getting in some of the craziness that's going on in the world, let's keep it fun, let's keep it light, and take a little bit of a trip down nostalgia lane. And what's your favorite mobile device pre-iPhone, or your favorite kind of like tech device?
Probably a pager, simply because when people paged you, knowing that you may not be around a phone to be able to immediately call them back made me feel special. It's like, all right, I know you may be busy right now. Who knows where you are in the world? There's no location tracking. There's no Find My. But I still need you to know that I called you. So let me page you just so you know that I called you. It's like, oh man, you went out of your way to do that, knowing that it may be 20 minutes to 4 hours before I can get in front of a
But I
phone
know
to
that
call
you
you back.
know
Right,
you
right.
want me to talk to you.
Yep. So yeah, that made me feel special when I got that message. I wasn't a popular in college. In high school, I was somewhat popular. In college, nah, they put you back. They humble you quick in college, right? So in college is when the pagers, we were transitioning from the pagers to the cell
Cell
phones.
phone, yeah.
So, but that page with that number made you feel some kind of way.
For me, I have, behind me on my wall, you kind of see all of my tech stuff. And this is kind of like my currently in use tech. And, I have kind of like an Apple closet. But then on the very top floor, I have a just random tech closet. And so I was looking in it after we talked. I was like, what do I have up here? I have like a couple of old like Motorola flip phones. I have a couple Nokia phones. My favorite probably of those was the Motorola Razr, which I still have. But I have to say, I think probably my favorite tech device was the Palm Pilot. It
Okay.
made me feel so grown up and so like,
Be able to
let
read your
me
email.
yeah, let me flip up my little antenna and take out my little stylus, and I can go to some websites and I can like read my email. I thought I was just so far in the tech future, and I was just like, this is like, I have arrived. This is great. And for, a kid, barely in college, having, access to that, you really think that, hey, I have arrived. For you, our listeners, definitely hit us up on social media or on our Discord and let us know what your favorite pre-iPhone tech devices are. We'd love to hear what your faves are. Ours, Terrance the pager, me the Palm Pilot. Let us know what yours are.
Well, I got maybe a couple other ones. Well, I wouldn't
Okay.
call this a phone per se, but probably
Yeah, tech, phone or tech, yeah.
when I got a iPod Shuffle, having to go through the process of queuing up all of the music that you then would want to listen to when you're away from your computer, going through that process. I'm a little anal. So got to make sure it's perfectly right in the perfect order,
Yeah.
perfectly based on what I'm planning on doing. I don't want to be out doing something and be like, oh, you know what I should have? This playlist on my iPod. So I was actually not necessarily a DJ, but our wedding, our DJ was lame. And the reason why I should have known something was up because every wedding, every DJ, they're like, hey, give me some suggestions of, the types of
What
music
you
you want to
like.
listen to, right?
Yeah.
They wanted me the exact songs that I want to listen to, not necessarily when you
Like genres, like say I like Jodeci or I like Boys to Men. They wanted
and not
which
just
Jodeci song is it? Which
right.
Boys to Men song is it?
And not just, when you come in the room, what do you want us to play? When you do your dance, what do you want us to play? Those, not that. It was like every single song you wanted to play at the wedding, this is what you need to put on there. And of course, not necessarily being cheap,
Jesus.
but the event venue that we had our reception at, they included the DJ. So we're like, why would I pay $200, $300, $400 for a DJ when they're including it? And all right, we'll just use your DJ.
Yeah.
Bad idea because I spent
So reason why it's
weeks.
included in the price.
Yes, I spent weeks putting together a music playlist to then hand to the DJ, and then all he did was click and press play. He didn't, how I'm not a DJ, but I've seen how DJs do. They play music.
Transitions. They fade something out.
They
fade to doing
see
it.
they see who's dancing, who's not. If you ain't dancing, all right, let me change
Get
it up.
yourself on your dance floor.
You know,
Yeah.
Right, right. So he didn't do none of that. He just click play. So I ended up being the DJ. And because, again, just brought back memories because I spent weeks on iTunes trying to get this playlist together to
So
then.
did you have to provide the songs as well, or just the names?
I can't remember. I can't remember if, no, I did not have to provide. I didn't have to hand him a CD or I didn't have to hand him my iPod to plug into his stuff. I did have to give him a list.
Okay.
And it was a
So he basically
long
built a
list.
playlist after that, off
Yeah, but
that.
he didn't. But it was just like in order. It wasn't.
Oh, in order from the list that you had. So he's not like
No.
speeding it up, slowing it down, doing all, because Black weddings, we do all the line dances together. It's one long line dance. But yeah, that's interesting.
Nope, none of that. So that just brought back memories of me on my computer on iTunes trying to figure out my wedding playlist.
Funny thing is, as I was looking through things in my closet, I found a blue iPod mini. This was back when they first launched the colors. And it was just like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. They had like the yellow, they had the pink, they had the blue. I got the blue. And then, the other colors. And I actually have the device. It's in the Apple closet downstairs. But upstairs, the box with all the paperwork and stuff is still in there. So it's like it's pretty wild to kind of see basically a time capsule of things that I had. And that Palm Pilot, it's somewhere in my house. I think
Okay.
it may be in my garage. And I went to kind of try and look for it, but then I was like, I don't want to move too much stuff around because there could be bugs and stuff hidden behind boxes. So I'm just going to leave that there. But it's somewhere, I think, in my garage or in this closet downstairs in
All
the
right.
office where I record. But yeah, so I think that's the only iPod that I got. I think I only got the mini. I don't think I got the old school, like thick silver
I had one.
iPod.
I had one, and it was in my car. That was my car stereo. I would again on iTunes make sure I got my playlist right, and I would take that big clunky big thing and put it in my
Shiny
center.
silver.
Put it in the center console of my car and plug it up to the USB, and that's how I would play my music. And it got tiresome after a while because
Yeah.
anything new, you got to drag it back in the house, you got to plug it back up, and then, so on and so forth. So I'm glad
Yeah.
now everything is. That's one thing with technology. There are some benefits. So I'm glad
Yeah.
everything is now streaming over the internet, right? As long as you've got
Yeah.
internet connectivity, you've got access to all of your stuff. But again, it comes with its drawbacks. The artists aren't getting paid, but what's new? Did artists ever
Convenient for me.
did artists ever really get paid? They're just
Record
due.
companies always got paid. It's the record companies that always win out. So yeah, but yeah, hearing them and seeing some of the photos that people sent in. I think one guy sent in like a trio, and it was just really fun to see. All of the tech that we used to have, and now we pretty much just have this one device, and it's literally everything. Because in that closet upstairs, kids before we used to have actual digital cameras to get our digital images. And so there are a couple of like digital cameras up there, and I'm just like thinking back now, we just have one thing, and it's pretty much our whole life in this little package.
Well,
So it's fun to kind of see that. With that, we're gonna wrap up for the culture. Let's head on over to the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
all right. So this one goes out to all those people who potentially could be in Hurricane Milton's way. In some cases, you may have poor or spotty, if at all, cellular service. So for any user out there or any person in Florida specifically, but if you're in the hurricane's way or just in general, if you're in an area that doesn't have any cell service and you're in an emergency, just to remind y'all, still satellite SOS messaging is still available for free for now for any iPhone users who have the 14, 15, 16, and you've updated to iOS 18. And I did it like a demo again today, just trying to test it out, make sure it works. And just to make sure, just so I know what to do in an emergency. And the demo works pretty fine. You can press the buttons on the side, press and hold the power button and the volume up button until you get that screen that either gives you the option to turn off your phone, show your medical ID, or call SOS. Once you do that, it fires off the process to where you have to hold your phone out in the open. It locates the satellite, and then you kind of move your phone or move your body to make sure you're in line sight of the satellite. Once you do that, it kicks off a couple of screenshots that says, hey, let us know your location, let us know what's going on, let us know your current health status, right? And your location if I didn't say that. You type that in, it's actually text messaging. You type in all that information, and then what happens is they'll send that to 911, and 911 will make the phone call to call your emergency contacts. So another tip is make sure you have emergency 2 or 3 emergency contacts set up in your phone, because 911, what they're going to do is they're going to call those people with your status. They'll say, hey, this is 911, call on behalf of Terrance Gaines. He was in an emergency. Just want to let you know, based on the information you text in. So it's not you using satellite to text your mama or your husband or your wife or your kids. You are in an emergency, so you are texting emergency services. So just someone to put that out there. I don't think you can get stuck and you can text your mom, and just because you're in satellite area that you can make that call. This is specifically for emergency services. But I wanted to make sure to put that out there for all those who are potentially in Hurricane Milton's path and going forward. If you're just in an emergency car crash, you get lost somewhere, heaven forbid, you've been accosted, you can use these real quick to message 911. At the very least, let them know where you are. Let them know that you are, safe or, or
Need
not.
assistance. Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
So at least they know, right? At
Right.
least somebody knows. So that's my tip for the week. Make sure you try that out. Make sure you go through the process. They got a free demo to where you can kind of demo and kind of text, just to get the hang of it. So when that emergency, heaven forbid, that emergency comes, you're not trying to figure it out. You've already done it. So that'd be my hookup for the week. Make sure as a little demo, make sure you go outside. Can't do it indoors. Got to be outside so the satellite can see you. Go outside and do that SOS demo just so you can know how to do it. So when emergency comes, you know what to do.
Exactly. And I think we mentioned it last week. It came in handy for some folks in North Carolina with Hurricane Helene. And we now have Hurricane Milton that is wreaking havoc in Florida and in some of the other coastal regions. I think Louisiana, Mississippi, along that whole Gulf Coast area. And that's, I believe, in full swing now. So definitely stay ready, get ready so you don't have to stay ready. Go through that demo so you get comfortable and confident. So when the adrenaline's rushing, if you find yourself in an emergency, you'll kind of be on autopilot, and you'll know how to make sure that folks know, 1, you're safe, or 2, you need some assistance.
Yep.
That's going to wrap up the show for this week. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva. Definitely to connect, to comment, to share, to like, to support our show, head on over to snobwestcast.com to get all of the details. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.